entertainers, your athletes, your politicians, your mega church ministers, your blacks in the media, the reason why they never come out publicly
Muted.
in defense or support of black people is
Unmuted.
Understand the rules. And rule number one, if you want to be successful and black in America, you cannot be identified with your community. This is why so many black men get white wives, on top of the fact that they want to be accepted by white people themselves, and they have an insecurity complex that they need to quelch. But politically speaking, one of the reasons black people date outside of their race so much is because it sends a signal, a message to the power structure that I am safe. I am loyal to you. See, when you date and marry white, that is a political decision. That's not a romantic decision. People kill me. Oh, that was just how I felt about her. No, it wasn't. You know what black people been through. You know who black women are. Your mother is one. You know what the hell is going on. You didn't choose that white girl because you loved her. There's a million black women you could have fell in love with. You chose her for political reasons and self-esteem reasons. So getting back to my point, we will never have a public figure come out publicly for black folks. Athletes, entertainers, politicians, megachurch ministers, Negroes in the media, the black bourgeoisie will never allow themselves to be identified with the black masses in a public forum because that, to them, is economic suicide. It is economic suicide. That's how you end up like Bill Cosby. They're not going to do it. The only way you will see a successful black person come out publicly for black people is if they earned their wealth independently. They must be truly a self-made millionaire or billionaire. And what I mean by self-made, I mean that you earned your money the Madam C.J. Walker way. And what I mean by the Madam C.J. Walker way is Madam C.J. Walker, America's first female millionaire, became so independently. She didn't become that way through NBC or ABC. She didn't become that way through the NFL or the NBA. She didn't come that way through any secret societies or gay clubs. She came that way through her own hard work and effort. She didn't do it through any of the mainstream media music conglomerates. Most of our celebrities, athletes and entertainers became wealthy through the white power structure, so they have no independence of opinion. You are not allowed to have an independent opinion if you are a black celebrity and you earned your money through them, because the hand that gave is the hand that will take.
Word. No doubt, no doubt. You're listening to the Kingya radio show with Dr. Umar Johnson. Going back to the phone lines, again, those that are on YouTube listening in, you are trying to find us on YouTube, it's Kingya, Kingya, and the title of that is Kingya Speaks with Dr. Umar. Check it out. Those that want to email your story, you can email kingyaspeaks@gmail.com. Kingya, Kingya, speaks@gmail.com. And for the podcast, we're on all the major platforms wherever you decide to choose or stream your favorite favorite podcast. We're on there as well. Going to the phone lines, we are going to Mama AZ. Mama AZ, your phone line is open. Question or comment for myself or Dr. Umar Johnson? Mama AZ, did I lose you? All right, we'll come back to Mama AZ. If you have a question or comment for Dr. Umar Johnson, please press *61. Sister Vieta, I'm coming to you now. I know you had a question for Dr. Umar Johnson. Your phone line is open. Question or comment? Okay, she must have stepped away from the phone. Frank, hopefully that answered your question. Thank you for calling in from the UK. We appreciate that. We're going to the next caller with a question or comment. Your phone line is open. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from. Looks like we got somebody from Memphis on the line. Question or comment for Dr. Umar Johnson? Your phone line is open. Is this Brother Wallace?
Yes, sir, Brother Wallace.
Hey, Brother Wallace, how you doing?
How you doing, Kingya?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for calling in.
Fantastic, man. Yes, sir, top of the morning to Dr. Umar Johnson.
Peace and love, Father. Peace and love.
Yes, sir. And I'm sure by now you know the Love Power Show is a supporter of Dr. Umar Johnson, as you have been on our show on more than one occasion. And Dr. Umar Johnson, you know that we as a people have a serious problem. And you touched on much of that. And that remember the reading about the Willie Lynch letter, and he said on the banks of the James River that if you follow my prescription, you will never, ever have to worry about this group of people. And we're seeing some of those signs. But there are those of us who wish to debunk that theory by coming together and working together and coming up with the proper theories and socialization that we need to operate as a people. And self-hatred is one of those elements, absolutely. And we've been degraded down to victims, consumers, and improper socialization. And one of the things that grew out of that was, you notice that when Dr. King said withdraw, he went to economics, remember? And right after that, he was assassinated. He said, withhold your economic support and resources from this country. And that was when I'm paraphrasing, of course, I don't remember the exact words because I'm not reading them, but we get the point. And so these are some of the effects that we're looking at. And so much so that we talk about hair and European, Korean hair and all of that. There are some people, some individuals who are still trying to get into those stores. So this whole self-hatred thing is definitely problematic. And you mentioned love of the children. And we simply, in general terms, not all of us, simply don't have the kind of love that we need as a people for one another. And this is why we carry on with the type of behavior that we carry on, Dr. Umar Johnson. I thank for having the opportunity to talk to you. I thank you for joining us on the Love Power Show as well. And we will be sending donations. And I say that we'll be joining you and working with you. And let's keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Brother Wallace. We appreciate you.
And let me say this in response, Kingya,
yes,
quickly,
please.
For Black people.
Yes.
I want to be very clear when I say this. From approximately Bill Clinton till the end of Obama. Now, yes, you had 8 years of George Bush in between. But when you look at that 24 years, that's almost a quarter of a century from the beginning of Bill Clinton's first presidential term to the end of Barack Obama's second. 25 years. That was a very sensitive period for Black America because that was the end of the intentional mass drugging of the Black community. Not that it ended, but that was when the period of greatest intensity ended, okay, because the 80s was the decade of chemical warfare. That was the crack decade. Bill Clinton's election signaled a transition, not an end, but a transition from the drugging to the mass incarceration. But because you had a soft liberal Democrat 8 years in office, and then you had another soft liberal Democrat in Barack Obama 8 years in office, that's 24. And if you want to exclude George Bush, that's still 16 years. Those were the last 16 years that Black people would ever be able to hold an American president accountable to them ever again. Part of the reason why is two parts. On one side, we didn't ask them to do anything for us of significance. Neither Bill Clinton nor Barack Obama, two liberal Democrats, were ever met with any demands outright from the Black community. That was one of our greatest historical mistakes. And when they write the history books of the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, you can best believe that significant attention will be paid to the fact that Black people had two liberal Democrats who claimed to be for them, and they demanded nothing of them. That's one reason why we'll never be able to hold another president accountable. That's number one. The second reason is ever since the Civil Rights Bill was passed, okay, until now, 50 years, America has falsified a narrative that suggests this entire time they have been doing what they can do to help Black people. So now, with Donald Trump being in office, he is the first president of the post-civil rights era. I want to be clear about this. Donald Trump, moving forward, it's a new type of American president. He will not be sensitive at all to black issues. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this to say we have to stop wasting time and energy trying to get the attention of presidents when you did not get the attention of the ones who claimed to be for you. Getting resources and concessions from American presidents are over. It's done. It's dead. Now is the time for us to turn within and to use our own resources. And Lord knows we have enough of everything we need. We got all the electricians. We have all the plumbers we need. We got all the carpenters, all the roofers, all the welders. We got all the auto mechanics. We got all the nurses, the doctors, the lawyers, the educators, the psychologists. Lord knows we got all the money. $20 billion a year on perm, $2 billion a year on Air Jordan, $4 billion a year on liquor. Black people have the financial resources. Black people have the technical and intellectual resources. There's only one resource we're missing, Kingya, and everybody has talked about it today. The one resource that we do not have is the psychological resources. Black people have not made up their mind to stop acting white and to start...
I'm on the line, Mo. You got to call into the radio show.
And until we make up our mind to stop acting white and start intentionally being black, we will lose.
Okay.
Unmuted.
Dr. Umar, that's definitely important. And again, this is not only is it biological warfare, but this is a spiritual war that we're fighting as well. And the people need to understand that, right? And so when you are dealing with the spiritual realms, it takes this to a whole nother ball game. So we haven't seen this type of warfare before. Right? It's right at our front doors. And again, with this coronavirus quarantine, it should create a new environment where people will be forced to sit down, self-reflect, get more done, spend more family time together, nurture and love that family, nurture and love and protect those children, because that's what this is all about. It's about protecting your loved ones. Yes, sir.
You know what? I was thinking yesterday to myself, and I said, I really wish that we had the school up and running right now, because we have 4 buildings, 2 of which are schools, on the FDMG campus in Wilmington. And the reason I had wished that the school was up and running at this time, because right now we are under siege. The entire world is under siege, but black people are necessarily under siege. This would have been a perfect opportunity to have a covert black community nation building conference. I mean, to imagine having 2 or 3 representatives of every state in America, every black state, all 50 states and territories, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, where other Africans are, and imagine having 2 or 3 representatives of the 50 states and territories meeting covertly, unbeknownst to the public, at the FDMG Academy, plotting and planning our way out of this mess, politically, economically, educationally, industrially, spiritually, and every which way.
Yes.
So I really wish we would have had that school, because had we had that school, that's exactly what we would be doing right now. Right now, nobody would even know it. All black people would be represented in a covert nation-building resurrection redemption conference.
Yes.
Go ahead, my brother.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. So again, guys, you're tuning in to the Kingya radio show, and live with us now is Dr. Umar Johnson. We are talking about